And a happy good morning to you. Thursday, as always. We might have missed a couple, okay? But cut us off on that.
Be careful with that, right?
It's elevating you, reaching your peak. Kraig Kann, Mike Mooney, Jill Bauer as well, with some brand new, inspiring career growth conversation right here. So glad to have you with us as you stream on our Facebook page, the Kann Advisory Facebook page. I'm excited. Just want to say hi to you. It's nice to see, Jill, by the way, it's nice to see Mike Mooney indoors. He's been braving the elements up in Pennsylvania and wherever else. Carolina had a great trip I saw into the mountains of Carolina hiking. I am so envious of you, pal. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Yeah, it's definitely a different weather vibe from the last week when we were on. In fact, my hair's in one place now. I'm not getting blown all over. Made it back from the mountains, unscathed, no bears. It's good, man. Life's good.
Yeah. That sounds like the playoffs for the NFL for me. No bears. I'm getting used to that. By the way, for you sports fans out there, I'm just going to give you a little inside tip. If you're going to watch the Super Bowl on Sunday, and are you a football guy, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, Jill?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay. So anyway, last night.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Last night on my SiriusXM show, I had Robbie Gould, the kicker for the 49ers, on as one of my guests. He's a big-time golfer, and he's kicked in 2 Super Bowls, one for the 49ers last year against the Chiefs, losing in. And then he kicked in the Super Bowl in 2007 for the Bears against the Colts, which was at that time the only Super Bowl where there was a rainstorm during the entire game. He said from 6 a.m. when he woke up on Super Bowl Sunday through the game, and it didn't stop till the next day. The Bears lost that game to the Colts. Here's the deal. It was 30 degrees here today in Florida this morning, and it's supposed to rain for like the next 5 days, in Tampa included. So that Super Bowl that everybody thinks is going to be all beautiful and nice could be like 60 degrees and rain. So there you go. That's my AccuWeather forecast. I'll update that again on the 8th as we move along here today. Jill, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Kraig. It's nice to be with you guys this morning. And I'm sitting here looking out at about a foot of snow that fell here during that winter storm the last couple of days, and continue to ask myself, what's a California girl like me doing in a place like this?
Yeah. Hey, where in California were you from? I always forget that.
Yeah, I grew up in Orange County. So Irvine is where I grew up and went to school. And, we were, about 5 miles from the beach. So, we would ride our bikes there or take a run down there. And it was a very nice place to grow up, I have to say.
Mike, where did you grow up? I've never even asked you that question. North Carolina?
I know you haven't asked me, and it's about time. How long have we known each other? No, from grew up on Long Island, New York.
Oh, that's right.
That's
I actually
Long Island.
Long Island.
Yeah, Long Island. We knew the accent wasn't from like Dublin or something like that. It definitely wasn't that. All right. Well, it's good to be with you. Thanks to everybody for being with us. As always, you know how this drill works. You get to ask us some questions. I want to update where we were last week. Our conversation was adopting a sales attitude and see where that might lead you. So before we get to a very interesting question that came to us, which Mike will present, I just want to do a little recap, as I like to do, to give everybody at home who may have, for some reason, failed to remember that we were live, local, and late breaking as we were on Thursday mornings, the update of where we were with it. And this is what Mike was talking about when we were talking about adopting a sales attitude. Find the value in more than words. In 30 seconds, can you kind of just give us what that was, Mike, just to kind of help people understand what your philosophies were?
Absolutely. So the idea here, especially as we're looking at sales, is not to be thinking of just what can I sell the person. The idea was thinking about the value. Find the value in what it is that the person needs, but then more importantly, what you have, right? What you have on your own or of your own to bring forth, because there's value in that. And the other part of it there in the more than words is, like, we hear a lot of chat, going on in the world these days. And really what it comes down to, if you want to deliver value, is the action, right? Stop with the words and get moving. Move your feet, get the work done. That'll speak volumes and way louder than any word.
Yeah, everybody says actions speak louder than words, and you got to do it. And you can't just tell people what you're going to do. Just do it. Let them do the talking afterwards was
exactly
one of the places we went. I talked about being an entrepreneur each and every day. If you're going to adopt a sales attitude, you better be comfortable with your own ideas, with your own concepts, and be able to push those out. An entrepreneur has no fear, and they are people movers. They can take a person and move them from one thought process to another to rally behind you. So you have to be comfortable with that. And on that line, I said, get used to yourself. Not get over yourself. Some other people might say that, do you? I've heard that a time or two. But get used to yourself, meaning, hey, get comfortable with what you do bring, kind of like what Mike was talking about. Get comfortable with that, and then figure out what those things are that you do want to promote, that you do want to sell. And, I'm not suggesting rehearse it, but what I was saying was you need to be able on call to say, this is what I do, this is the value I bring, and be confident in that. So that's where I was going when it comes to a sales attitude. You can't be wishy-washy. You can't be coming across, I think I can do this. I think I can do that. No, here's what I can do, and this is what I'm going to focus on. Jill, these were yours, and we always know with Jill, we're going to get a play on words and something cute. So it was I see you, and you want to explain what yours were?
Yeah, well, I see you as just about making that, eye contact with people. My concern is that in this day and age of everybody doing Zoom calls and multitasking while they're on calls, we're losing that ability to really look at people, to make that connection so that you can have those conversations. And it's not just for you doing that for yourself, but I think being on the receiving end of that makes you really feel like you're heard. So it's going back to making sure you're maintaining those connections, and then service with a smile. The energy that you bring when you talk to somebody and you greet them, it puts them at ease instantly. I mean, those are basic things for, I think, anyone, whether you're doing a career conversation like we are here, or just in day-to-day life, walk out with a smile, engage with a smile. It elevates your energy, and everybody then, I think, is more excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, no, totally believe that. And you do have that gift. There's no question about it. You've got that gift of seeing people eye to eye and bringing that smile and that energy to them. And I think that's something that we all can do a lot better job of. So that was last week. Talking about a sales attitude. And now I want to bring you to this week. And by the way, if you ever see me or Mike or Jill looking down, it's because we're actually looking at your comments and saying hello to you. Trying to share this along our own Facebook pages. And hopefully you'll do the same and share it with other people. This week's topic was one that we were kind of excited about. It was different. And we're talking about the power of style. And not necessarily what you wear, how you wear, all that sort of stuff. Although, you know what? Mike's a pretty stylish guy. And, that's a part of it. That is a part of how you present yourself. But we really wanted to focus on how we do things versus just what we do. That's where we were going. And so with that, I want to remind you that you can send questions to us via the Kann Advisory Facebook page. Mike checks those out. I'm going to check them out here in a second, or email directly info@kannadvisory.com. Now, before we go with our first impressions, I want to say this as well. We come up with these topics each and every week, and next week or next time we get together is one of those times we've taken your comments, your thoughts on what topics you would like, and we are actually going to present one of those next week. And I'll get to that in just a little bit. Excited about it. But if you have a conversation topic that you want for us, let it rip, please. You can put it right there on the Kann Advisory Facebook page, or you can email it to us, and that's where we'll go. So again, just a reminder, the power of style today, how we do, not what we do. Mm-hmm. How do we combine both and make that lasting impression? And speaking of impressions, I'm going to let Jill go first with her first impressions on that very, very topic. Jill, take it.
Well, I love the idea of style when it comes to your career, because style and brand I think are very connected. And your brand that you put out there every day are the first impressions of how people see you or how they're going to talk about you, behind your back in a good way, in a positive way, right? So I love these sort of dissections that we do, that we really encourage people not just to say, oh, I'm a salesperson, but let's challenge you, or I'm an X, or, I do this or I do that. But how are you doing it? How are you presenting it? What are the steps that you're taking to really put yourself, a notch above everybody else? Because in the end, what we're all here to do is to help you stand out, so that people notice what you're doing, so that you can go to that next level in your career. So I love this topic today. I'm excited to dive into it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic too. And I didn't even come up with it. You guys did. So all the best. All right, Mike, your first impressions on this, the power of style. By the way, I saw your post this morning on Instagram, I believe it was. And I think you actually laid it out there exactly as we were trying to do, about the way we were going to kind of go through this topic. So please do share your first impressions on this. And then in just a little bit, we'll each give one power thought on this topic to give to everybody. Go ahead, Mike.
So yeah, when I think about this, I always go back to a phrase when I was young in my career, and there was an executive that I worked with that I admired greatly and still do. And he made it really clear to me that he said, look, Mike, people will either want to work with you or have to work with you. And there's a big difference and distinction between the two as you're looking at not only the results that you get or the long-term relationship you build, but really in the moment, what you're able to create. And that always stuck with me. And that's why I love the idea of style. And I often use the team that I've led or the people I work with, where, we'll talk about, the work we've got to get done. And I'll say, but let's remember, we're doing it with good style, and that to me is the difference of people wanting to work with you or having to work with you.
Yeah. No, that's good, Mike. And as I move into my first impressions, I want to react to that just a little bit. And I'm going to be transparent about something here that when I was working in one of my jobs, I won't say which one it was, I would hear people that were in management say, they work for me. They work for me or my team. And it always, now keep in mind, and Jill, you can relate to this. You and I didn't grow up in corporate world. We grew up in TV world, and there's a major difference there. So when I would hear somebody say my team or, my organization or my staff, I was always like, oh God, because I try to put myself in the shoes of those people. How do they feel? Like they're just, right here, and I, or whoever this other management person might be up here. I didn't like the way it sounded. And so I always would try consciously. That doesn't mean I didn't slip up a time or two, but I would like to say our team. You don't work, and I know I said this about, you don't work for me, you work with me. We work together. We're a team, because frankly, there are a lot of people that I've worked with, no matter what job it was. And obviously I've had 5 or 6 where they were way more talented than I was in a certain area. And that's why you build a team like that. So I think that that's really important. And to Mike's point, and to what you were saying, Jill, we do have a style. That's what makes us recruitable. That's what makes us a positive addition to a team. And then it becomes a collective group, our team, not somebody's team. That's just the way that I've always felt about it. And there's this one person that I worked with who I saw some information posted on a social media platform where they were saying they were a little bit depressed, and very transparent in what they were posting. Depressed, not feeling great about where they were in their job right now. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? And I want your guys' comment on this, because I think it's important. I guarantee you there's some people out here listening to us that are feeling the same thing. Don't like where they are in their career. Don't feel great about themselves. don't love this pandemic, quite frankly, fed up with the fact that they're between four walls, maybe a couple of windows, and looking out at the world going, what's next? And so it's easy to think that, and you need that support group. And you know what, frankly, I hope we can kind of be that, because I'd be lying if I didn't say, hey man, I'm kind of looking for something that's going to get me really excited this week. So what are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah. Listen, you're spot on. And I'll tell you, I mean, the week for me started out like not the way I wanted it to. And I was having a tough start to the week. There were, and you want to hear the funny part of it, Kraig? And again, in the spirit of just being completely honest, when we were on the phone on Monday talking about the projects and some of the work we have going on, and you had just gotten an email for that new piece of business, right? That came in. You're like, oh, got it. Just got the email. Yeah. Literally like 10 seconds before that, I got an email saying, sorry, man, we're going in a different direction for that proposal that you sent in. And it was this moment where I was so happy for you, but then I'm like, oh man, this is, okay, let me get after it again, you know, and the problem of comparison, you know, this comparison is the thief of joy, right? And I think in these times, not only are we feeling internally like we need an outlet or we feel trapped, and we have to think about control, right? What do we really control in our lives? And it's only three things: our attitude, our decisions, and behavior, right? But also thinking about comparison, especially on social media, because we see people doing great things, and we always reflect back on our lack and what we don't have. So I think having a support group and people to reach out to, I thought it was ironic, Kraig, you know, in that moment, you know, you're celebrating, I'm celebrating you, but I'm like, crap, you know, but being there for each other is important, and finding that network is vital today.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the next day, I had a company that I'd already done work with said, you know what, that's something we don't use right now, so we're not gonna take advantage of this. So I got a rejection the next day. It happens all the time. I mean, that's just the way it is. And then yesterday, out of nowhere, you know, something got posted about my book. Somebody direct messages me on Twitter. By the way, this is for everybody out there. If you don't think the power of social media works, it works. And if you're putting value out there, or if you're putting something of interest out there, people do want to connect with you. Jill, what are your thoughts on that? I'm sure there've been some times where you've, you know, felt maybe your style didn't fit, or whatever it might be. You know, the depression thing is real. And I know we're kind of steering a little bit off of our course, but Mike made some great points and comparing to other people.
Yeah, I mean, I love this discussion because I think it's very authentic. And I think that, frankly, you know, people might be, you know, following us and tuning in today. And, you know, we all have some nice accolades in our career. And the assumption might be like, they don't know what it's like. And that's not, it couldn't be further from the truth. You know, I mean, I think of, I've had a lot of rejections in my career, whether it was when I was first looking for my first job in television, and I'm like, wait a minute, I graduated from Mizzou. Like, shouldn't I be getting a job here? And it took me a long time to get a first job. And even during my years at QVC, I can't tell you how many times I pitched ideas for shows to kind of push the envelope in the way. I mean, I've shared the story of Your Home with Jill. You know, it took me 3 years, and I had to go over my boss's head to finally like have somebody pay attention. Like, you know, so and even now, and especially now, you know, I'm a woman in television and I'm over 50. So trying to be relevant in a space and world where everything is driven by social media, of these young, beautiful, whatever, airbrushed, face tuned, whatever they've done, like, talk about like trying to make yourself
Mike
vulnerable.
and I actually did airbrushing before you joined us this morning. We were both airbrushing, and you know,
I know you look so good.
Lighting. He's up in, you know, he's in a cold spot, but he looks like he's, you know, in Cabo right now, for gosh sake. All right, sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, that comparison thing that you were talking about, you know, and what I've learned from all of that is, you know what, I'm Jill. And that's my superpower, because there's nobody else out there like me. And I would say that to all of you. It's a quote that a friend of mine put up recently, and I'm like, I'm stealing that because it's so true. Like, what I've been able to do is realize I'm not going to appeal to the 18 to 24 set with the content that I do. So I'm going to really try to hone in on the brands and the people who want to know more about home living, who are homebodies like me. And I think that's a nice lesson, instead of following all these people where you feel bad, after looking at it, or you're finding yourself in this state of self-comparison. Find your own tribe, right? Find your own group of people that can support you and are like-minded like you. And then you're all building each other up as you go.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It is, because, it's really about, we've talked about before, starting from the inside first and then moving outward, right, into the world, and how we choose to engage and interact and what we bring forth, right? Instead of trying to we live in a world of me's and looking at everybody else and trying to replicate. And I think there's some aspects of finding someone who you admire and want to replicate some of the things they do in that sense. But if we're out there just trying to keep up with the next person that we see on social media, that's not truly who we are. But Jill, I love that, because you found your sweet spot, but it took time. It took time.
And here's the thing, I'll be completely, transparent as well. When I left QVC, I knew I left with a lot of credentials in what I had done, what I could do. I think there was a little bit of a ego, involved there, thinking that, when I reach out to brands and they see my track record, of course they're going to hire me to do stuff. Like, that didn't happen. And great wake-up call for me, because it really shifted into what we talk about so often. I had to go into that entrepreneur mindset. How am I going to market myself? How am I going to approach them? What are the ones that what are the brands I really want to partner with? And if they say no the first time, am I going to accept that? How am I going to go back to them? For me, this is just my personality, that motivates me. Because now it's like, all right, so you didn't want me, so give me a little time, and I'm going to show you why you're going to want me the next time. So you can't get defeated with the no, right? It doesn't mean no forever. It just means no right now.
Yeah. Okay, two things real quick off that before we get to our one big power thought. Number one, I'm going to go back to football. Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, they have a great offense. This guy's been doing great things. Now, Andy Reid's the head coach, and a lot of people give him all the credit, but Bieniemy has done a wonderful job. Now, as a Mizzou fan, Jill, you shouldn't love Eric Bieniemy because he played at Colorado, and if you remember the down deal, that was the year they won the. Okay, whatever. Enough said. Yeah. But nonetheless, Eric Bieniemy has been put out there as a guy who should be getting a head coaching job. And there's all this conversation about not enough African-American coaches getting opportunities, blah, blah, blah. Bieniemy is a star, like a star coach. And he has, again, gone through the pipeline this year, and all these other people have been hired, and he didn't get the gig. And so he's going to remain. But I looked at his quotes from the Super Bowl press conference. Man, this guy is accepting of it. And I'm reading all these things about, you know what? My style might not fit. I'm just waiting for that one person to determine that I'm the right person for this. And so it's very easy, to Mike's point, to get distracted or think about, comparing yourself to everybody else, when you really need to compare yourself only to what you do and how well you can do it. And can you do it better? More importantly, differently in style than somebody else. So that's my first thought that I wanted to share with you. The other stuff. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
No, I just got to put something before we get into the actual topic. Go on, man. Sorry.
No, I just think that's I think that's super important, and we all want to try to find our way. And I have this other really good friend who, when I talk to him about him trying to recruit his own business because he's gone the entrepreneurial route. And he spends so much of his conversation with me talking about what he used to do, and the people that he knows and the people that he engages with. And, this is how it is and this is how it was. And I tell him all the time, I got to be honest, man, if I'm sitting on the other end, nobody cares about what you used to do. You are either trying to put a product in front of somebody else. More importantly, you're putting your current self in front of somebody. So while Jill had all the accolades and all the resume and the QVC, and Mike, you did your stuff in racing, and I have my Golf Channel LPGA background, all that, Nobody cares. It's what's helped us get to where we are, to have the opportunity to sell ourselves again. And you have to let go of talking about what was, and you have to be able to sell. Some people are not, they're taskmasters. They do really well when somebody says, can you accomplish this? They'll knock it out of the park. Right. Will they do it with a style that's all their own, or will they just do it? There's the most important question. And number two, can they sell themselves, not just their idea? So there you go. Mike, did you want to jump on that before we go into our top?
Well, I was going to jump on that and say absolutely. Our pedigree, our background, our experiences are credibility builders, but they aren't exactly going to be, you know, driving more forward. I wanted to say something real quick. Rob Pritz had been commenting on here. He's been awesome, some really good points. But one that made me laugh is Jill. He said, "Jill, you nailed it. A short, fat, bald guy isn't for everyone, but I own it and bring a sense of humor to have people embrace me as me." Love it, Rob. Thanks, man.
So good.
Great.
He is a terrific guy. And I will also tell you a story. He is my first, it's a true story. He's my second, but my first out of town client that I ever did one-on-one consulting with, and he has crushed it. And I'm so proud of that guy.
Awesome.
So,
that's
love
great.
that he's listening in and all of that. He's really pivoted and done some great things. All right, Mike, your big thought. Here we go. One big thought from each of us. And Mike's going to get to go first. And this is it. Yes. Keeping the big picture in mind. Let it rip.
So where I was going with that is from my career, 25 years in professional motorsports and NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One. That is a world that has logos everywhere. You know, you can't watch the sport without seeing brands and logos everywhere. And that doesn't go just on the cars or the team uniforms, but even the people who represent those brands. So if you're working for a particular brand, you'll have at the racetrack that logo on your shirt. It's an identifier, right? It's a way for people to see who you are and who you work for. And in that, it is literally like sometimes badge and status, you know, of, are you working with this particular sponsor or this particular team because they're right up here, or you're working for one down here, or whatever it might be. And there was an interesting observation a friend of mine made years ago with me. And he said, you know, Mike, we have to remember we're always going to end up wearing different logos on the shirt. So you have to remember that sometimes people are going to treat you differently based on the logo on your shirt, but you should really think of treating people the same regardless of what logo is on your shirt. And I really thought of like thinking through that in like the big picture of things, right? Getting back to people wanting to work with you or having to work with you. Look, when I was working with Nextel years back, and they were the series sponsor for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series, people had to work with us, right? The trick was we wanted people to want to work with us, right? To be in a way that they felt like they were building things together. So you have to keep the big picture in mind with this, because, you know, the little actions that we take every day with folks, the words we use or the body language in certain situations, being aware of that, those little nuances can have huge and big impact on the way that people view you, view the brand, want to continue to work with you, or just say, I have to get through this, I'll just suffer through it. I think we've all been in those situations where we have to work with someone and it's freaking miserable, right? It's miserable.
Yeah.
Am I alone on that?
No.
Yeah. I don't get to work with them. I have to work with them.
Yeah.
And that's how we carry ourselves. No, that's good. That's
yeah. So to me, you know, that's also thinking through this transactional and relational mindset. And I used to say it's transactional versus relational. Transactional, get the job done, just get it taken care of and keep moving. And then there's relational of bringing value, being a resource, building the relationship. But I'm taking the verses out of that. I think we have to have in the style the transactional and the relational, keeping a mind on getting the work done and doing it in a way that's building relationship.
With that, before we get to Jill, I just want to remind everybody that Kraig, Jill, Mike, we are out there and we are ready to roll. For you, your company, and if you don't own a company or a big part of a company, but you know somebody that does, this 1 hour, 1.5 hour webinar that we do over lunch or at any time that works in your schedule is right there for the offering. Present to Win, a webinar series with the three of us. You pick your team. It could be marketing, could be sales, could be communication, could be whatever. interactive webinar where we're going to go through some real topics and our actual experiences that are going to help you be a better seller of yourself, be a better reputation-minded company, and be somebody that is worth following. Actionable takeaways to take you to the next level in your career. We say it's an eye-opening experience. Your team's going to be talking about it. There's no question about it. You get the three of us, you get an hour and a half, and we'd love to talk to you about it. info@kannadvisory.com. That is what we're offering you, and hope you'll take advantage of that. With that, I move on to Jill and her big thought for the day. And this, why are you already laughing?
We need like a drum roll for these, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm all in, and it's not even like she always says, Craig, this is going to be really corny. This isn't. I like it. Keep going. Here we go. You're on.
So this actually came from a consultation I had with a lady yesterday who I'm going to be doing some media training work with. And
Okay.
She and I were having a conversation, and she said, you know what, Jill, like where I just need to figure this all out is I just feel like I need to quit wearing the same shoes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. Because she's wanting to break out of her routine. She's wanting to get out of the same old, and change the way she's doing something. And I feel like that is such a great first step when it comes to how you're putting yourself out there. You don't have to change everything. How about we just start by changing the shoes, right? So making those small shifts or those small changes. Maybe it's just slightly changing the way you are putting out a pitch, in the way you're communicating. Maybe it's a different way to take a look at how you're using LinkedIn to track down contacts. Just little things like that. And we've talked about that a lot over the last almost year that we've been doing these talks on Thursdays. Those little things in the end could add up to one big change. But I think people are a little intimidated by the big change. So if you do little things as you go, that's going to change how you're doing it. And you may find that changing that shoe, we know why we want to be the one with the green shoe, but changing your shoes, thinking about that idea of what's a little thing I can change today that gets me out of my normal routine, that might be a different way that I can present myself or this program or this presentation. I just love the whole concept of that.
Some people get stuck in a rut of doing their job the same way or doing themselves the same way. And I actually posted something today on my Instagram story, which is a real picture of me standing at the Grand Canyon. I wasn't looking to jump off the cliff, by the way, but I was looking out there, and I always remember that. I mean, it was a very powerful moment for me, but I was thinking about, man, there's this big world out there for me. This is, 3 or 4 years ago. And the fact that everything that's good that comes for us comes from outside the comfort zone. When we stay in that one spot, and to your point, wear the same shoes all the time and aren't willing to change. Sure, we all have habits and all that, but man, you got to be willing to push yourself out there. And so when it comes to style, the way you do things, try. Be authentic, be yourself. I'm not suggesting to change your whole style, because then people are like, who's this? But just push yourself a little bit. I've worked with people who never make a mistake in their job simply because they're never willing to take a risk to fail.
Right.
And so that to me is a big thing. And we learn way more. I talk about it in my book. I learned way more from some of the failures and some of the things. And I didn't tell every story. But man, there's a lot to be learned from changing shoes and pivoting and doing those things. So Jill, I think that one's terrific. Really do.
Yeah, well, and I also think too, a lot of people, and I would say specifically to those of you out there who are feeling like my job is kind of on autopilot, right? Like you're so comfortable in it, you can just go out there and do it without even much thought. And maybe part of you has sort of even lost a little bit of the passion for it. It's just become so automatic. You, above everybody else, needs to put on a new pair of shoes.
Yeah. No,
I love that. You're going to end up sleepwalking. You'll just end up sleepwalking through life, and that's just not what this is about. And I was living that before I made my pivot out of motorsports. I felt I could do it for 20 more years, but it's not living. But it was scary as hell to get to jump out and go. You know. One of my favorite quotes on that, besides Craig, when is the best time to plant a tree? One of my favorite quotes is, "Life is the toughest teacher, because you learn the lesson after you take the test." So we got to be willing to, again, to your point, Craig, fail a few times, but then find the lesson in it, because it's there for a reason.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the experienced sailor never got that experience from calm seas.
Yep.
The guy or the woman that you want manning the ship when it goes rough, because they've already been there, and that requires changing the shoes just a little bit. So quit wearing the same shoes. I like that one. That's really good. And we'll move on to my one big thought. And I you guys sent me yours, and it made me do some real thinking, because they were both good, and I could have plagiarized and stolen them, but I didn't. I let them.
Oh, but you wanted to. You wanted to.
I did. I like the way you guys think. So mine is this, and it's get into the impact zone. Now, I'm going to go with a little bit of a golf analogy here. Somebody who shoots 59 or a great round of golf, 61, 60, whatever that number is, they are in a zone. They are in a zone, and they almost are oblivious to everything going on outside them. They are focused on their one thing. So let's use, Mike's career and what he's done now and moving into being an entrepreneur. Each and every day, I know this about Mike. He's in his zone, because it's tough to reach him sometimes. And I don't mean that in a negative way. He is focused on what he's doing. All right. Jill, tracking her down is like trying to track down the lost Christmas present that was supposed to be on your door. You go neighbor to neighbor to neighbor, you can't find. Jill's very busy. She's in her zone. Now, we all find ourselves trying to get into a zone, and you don't want to be distracted. That's one zone. The other zone, when it comes to the power of style, and not what you do, but how you do it, that's where the word impact comes to me. And the impact zone is the way you think about the impact of what you will do, not just doing it. In other words, if I'm going to give a talk tomorrow, or I'm going to do a webinar tomorrow, or I'm going to do this show with you guys, every time I build something or think about what I'm going to go present, I start from the back end and work my way forward or back toward the front. I need to think about what the impact could be, what I want it to be, what I hope it will be for the people on the receiving end. So when it comes to style, if I want to achieve something that's going to get me, that vibe at the end where everybody's like, wow, this was great, or, man, can't wait to see him, or you should have been there, that type of thing. I got to think about how am I going to deliver the Kraig Kann style, my own authentic style that Mike can't deliver, Jill can't deliver. To your guys' points earlier, we can't be somebody else. We have to be ourselves. How can I make that impact, and what can I do? That goes with any project, any one-on-one consulting, any speech, any webinar, anything. And so, like, if I was giving Mike, not that I'm his career coach or anything, because it's happened to me, and Jill just said it happened to her. So let's say I'm on the other end, and Mike gets that we're going to go in a different direction line. Okay, he knew what he wanted the impact to be. Now, his style is only going to work for certain people at certain times. The more he's willing to put his style out there for everybody to see and feel and get that feeling, the more word of mouth marketing happens. And he doesn't have to worry about pitching as hard, because people are going to come to him and go, we like your style. We saw the impact you made on X, Y, or Z company. We want you to come here. So how does that apply to those people that are listening here? If you're at home, what I want you to think about is, what is the zone you can get into, focused on yourself? Be a little bit selfish. What do I add? What is my value? Jill and Mike talk about this all the time. Think about changing your shoes, as I steal one of Jill's lines, and go in a little bit of a different direction. But think about the impact that you truly want to make, not the product you're selling. There's a huge difference. What do I want to do for other people? Not what am I trying to sell them? And then once you figure out what impact you want to make, then you go backwards and go, okay, now what product can I put out there? What part of me can I put out there that will get me the results that I want? That's what I'm talking about the power of style. It isn't what you do, it's how you do it. And by the way, next week's topic is going to kind of tie into this, but it's not what we do, but it's also how we do it and how we're able to tell people what we do that separates us as well. What story can we tell? So there you go. There's my big thought for the day.
Love it. It's great.
Yeah, I think the idea of impact, it's interesting. As you were talking, Kimmy Krantz had chimed in and asked a question about, making a daily list and do you do that? How much of it do you work on? She's finding it hard to prioritize. And I was just shooting a note back to her and I said, I break my list into areas of impact and then tasks. And literally, Craig, you said, start with impact, and I think if we can, there's a difference between busyness and impact. And sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking that busyness is really getting us ahead. Oh, I've got all these emails taken care of. I moved this project 2 or 3 inches, forward. But, if we can really recognize that impact is what's going to drive value, it's going to drive our brand, it's going to drive opportunities, it's going to create the gravity that we're all looking for in our lives, I think we'd look at those lists just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Mike, busy does not equal productive. Right.
Yeah.
So it really is, and I know Kimmy. Kimmy was actually in my first segment that I ever did for the Today Show. She was a viewer who wrote in, and
awesome.
And so we've kept in touch. So Kimmy, thanks for being here. She's darling. But I think, to her point, trying, and what you were talking about, Mike, is, really like, how do you prioritize? I think you have to do a dump, a brain dump of, here are all of the things that need to be done. Like, you have to get that out first so that you can see it. Then once you see it, you kind of block it off into, all right, so what has to be done today? Probably things that are related to your job and your work. And if you get through your day, and I always cross things off as I go. I don't know if you guys feel like you have to do that, but like, it's such a sense of accomplishment, like done, right? Yeah. If you get to the bottom of the end of the day and there's still 1 or 2 things left, guess what? Those have to be the first things that you do the next day. So, and then, you have to, I think we all have to segment our lives a little bit. I always talk about silos, but, you have your to-do list for your job, work, business, prospecting, whatever it is. And then you have your to-do list of your home life too, right? So sometimes it's taking a 20-minute break from your work just to give yourself a chance to get away from the computer. And it's, laundry has to be done. Boop, you can get it done. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. Well, and you
constantly juggling, but it works.
You clean your refrigerator, and you also know how to clean a coffee maker. And those are all things that I need to put on a list that I just really don't want to put on my list. Here's one other thing, and I think this applies to everybody out there. Keep this brief, but I'll give an example. So my mom now lives, not that far from me at all, like a stone's throw. And I brought her from Dallas. She lost her husband, passed away last year in March. And my mom requires a lot of care, but a lot of financial, all the different things that you would have to do. Right? What does that do? All right, that takes me out of my work zone. All the more reason that I've got to do kind of what Jill's talking about. I've got to go. All right, I'm going to do my mom zone for 2 hours. But I'm going to give the rest of my 6 hours my work zone and make sure that I don't, feel like, oh my gosh, I'm putting all this time towards something else that's getting me away from it. Why is that important? It's important because we're all stuck at home. So many people are at home right now. And so to Jill's point, there is laundry to be done. There are distractions. You really do have to prioritize a little bit differently. But don't lose sight of your style and the impact you truly want to make within your job. Because if I spend all my time on my mom, I'm not being out there doing business development. I'm not pushing out things that are right. I'm not having conversations with Mike Mooney or Jill Bauer about what we're going to do or what we want to do to try to help people. All that stuff is important. And the last thing that I would say on that is I want to make an impact for Mike, right? I want to help him grow his business. I want to help Jill grow her business. We are all trying to help promote each other. So you, with your contacts that you have to Rob Pritz, and I know that about him. Can't speak to Kimmy because I don't know her, but help other people too. Put that within your impact zone as well. And when you're changing your shoes, think about the shoes other people are wearing, because there's a lot of people out there that are, you don't want to walk in my shoes feeling right now. And we do need to help others and put that on our list. So there's my soapbox for a little bit, getting into the impact zone. Okay. Before we get into next week's topic, I'm going to put this out there. Jill, Mike, you might want to check your inbox. Okay. Check your mailbox.
Okay. All right.
I just want you to know, I didn't, start begging you for addresses for no reason, but, hey, the book cracked the top 50 again. It's funny how it fluctuates on Amazon, but I was yesterday. I went over to somebody's house that's bringing me in. I can't say the name because his team doesn't know they're getting it, but he bought 25 books straight off Amazon, and I went and signed every one of them. I'm really excited about this, and it's been a lot of fun to see people post pictures, like my old school teacher from high school who got me through math class. I don't know how I got through math class, trigonometry and geometry, but he helped me get on the radio station at my high school radio station. He's an impact guy. He got my attention years ago. He's in my book. But the book is available on Amazon, or you can go to my website, cannadvisory.com, and I will do the personalized autograph, sign it, make it all about you, and mail it off to you, shipping included. Where did I learn that? I learned that from Mike Mooney, by the way, when his book came out. And when Jill's book comes out, she'll do it as well. And she'll probably throw in like 3 or 4 Christmas ornaments and it does very much. Okay. That's something that I won't be able to ship to you. I'll just stick a card in there. With that, Mike Mooney's book, Reputation Shift, which I still haven't received either, is now an audio version. And yes, so I keep checking my mailbox as well for the real book so I can hold it up. So
every day looking in that box.
Okay, this is sitting over here. I got to sign this one a little bit. So someday you will be able to have one of those, and we can trade. Okay,
sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Jill, let's go, Jill. let's go. It is your turn, Mike. And I'm commenting on your audiobook. You want to say anything about it?
Oh, I think you did great, man. I would just say that, look, if you're interested in investing some time in yourself to build one of your greatest assets, your reputation, please consider picking up the book. You can do it on audio, or you can go to my website or Amazon and pick it up there. I'll unpack 5 strategies that you can use today, 5 like right now, use now strategies to help you build, protect, strengthen, and even if you have to repair your reputation. So check it out.
There you go. Here is next week's topic. Be an impact communicator. Not about what you say, but about how you deliver it, present it, say it. That's going to be our topic. Now, why are we excited about that? Well, you just throw the word communication in front of me. I get excited. And this was the Jill Bauer one. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about why it's more important than ever to be a good communicator. But you know what we're going to do? We're not just going to give you conversation about it. We're going to give you actionable tips. I'm challenging you, Jill, since this is yours. We're going to help people get better with their communication skills, whether it's in a small group, a web conference, whatever it might be. We're each going to give. That's what we're going to do. So start thinking about that. I need your one thing about how you're going to help people get better as a communicator. That's the plan for next week.
Okay.
Any questions about your homework assignment?
Got it, teach.
Yeah, no problem, Mr. Kann. Jeez, let's kill.
Oh my gosh! All right, I'm going to let you guys have the final words. Mike, you first.
Listen, my final words are going to be really simple. Honestly, folks, Craig, you said it earlier, how folks are feeling a little trapped these days. And from where I was earlier in the week, my wife reminded me of this earlier. We were talking, and she said, hon, you need to find some more fun. Just take a minute and find some fun, because you're getting really wrapped up and wadded up in your own self. So I would just encourage everyone, just, take a moment, take a breath. Take some time for you. Find a little fun this week, over the weekend, whatever you need, but find it. It can be simple. It can be really simple.
Yeah. Well, those pictures you posted up in the mountains, man, I was so jealous. And sometimes you need a little bit of that. There are trying to look to see here in Florida. I don't see any mountain peaks anywhere nearby me, but I sure would like to go visit one. Jill, what you got for us?
You know what? Like, I don't want to put a somber note on this, but in just hearing what Mike had to say, like what I would say to everybody is, if there's a friend you haven't touched base with in a while, reach out to them and just connect. Because I learned this week that a really good friend of mine, we started in news together, passed away over the weekend. And we had just talked at Christmas, and how I wish I could talk to her again. So it's, just one of those. She was 56. She was a giant in the arts community in Indianapolis. Her name also happened to be Jill. And when we were both hired at the same station in West Lafayette, Indiana, we used to joke and say, watch out, the Jills have come to town. But it just really, when you lose somebody who, you've kept in touch with, and you're so grateful for those touch points, I think it also reminds you that there are a lot of people in your life that maybe you haven't reached out to lately.
Yeah.
And you never know when you may not have that chance again. And I say that too, with the thought that if you are somebody who's also having a hard time, or, you're at your wit's end with, being confined to the four walls of your home, let somebody else know that too. Because I think if nothing else, this is a great time, as we like to talk about communicating and connections, to, reach out to a friend and let them know you're thinking about them.
Yeah, man, that's
There's
so
nothing
important.
Nothing more to be said than that. Perfect way to put a wrap on it. Totally agree. We're going to talk about communication next week, why it's more important than ever. And there you go. Jill just talked about it. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes that phone call that comes to somebody else or you that you're not expecting can change your day. It can change your day. Elevating You, Thursdays, 9 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the Kann Advisory Facebook page. Just want to say thanks to Mike, thanks to Jill, and as we all say, thank you for just believing in us and giving us some of your time, because we know it's valuable to you and it means a lot. So thanks a lot, guys, gals. Have a wonderful day, and look forward to doing it again next Thursday. All right.
See you there.
To all of you out there, you guys have a great day too. Take care, and thanks so much for being a part of this.
Cheers. Thanks.